9. 3 years ago, I made the call. Will you?
Do you ask yourself any of these questions? Will I ever be able to get out of debt? Will I ever be able to retire? How am I going to pay for my children's education? How do I begin saving for my family's future? And if something were to happen to me, will my family be taken care of? Have you struggled in finding the answers? Forever Forward Financial can help answer these and many more questions about your financial future by teaching you how money works, by providing you the financial education you seek, by assisting you in making the right retirement or educational decisions that are best for you and your family, and by helping you take the necessary steps in establishing and meeting your financial goals. Please call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. The number, 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network. We're back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hi, welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And we're talking about perinatal depression and perinatal OCD. And my guest today is a 2-time survival of perinatal depression and perinatal OCD. And after struggling to find the right help and finally finding it, she wanted to do as much as she could to prevent another mom from feeling unheard, lonely, misunderstood, and to make sure that no mom or woman nearby would go undiagnosed. Her passion is helping women navigate through new motherhood, whether it be for the first time or fourth time, or learning identity after pregnancy loss. And I want to welcome back to Moments of Clarity licensed mental health counselor Lexi Bell. And Lexi.
Hey, Tiffany.
Ooh, oh God, we lost her.
No, I'm here.
Don't do that to me. So with let's talk about your foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So Her Hope Behavioral Health was, born out of my experience and the experience of other moms, a few of our other therapists, who have struggled with loss, with infant loss, pregnancy loss, with perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. One of the things that we still today, after being open for 3 years, is that there's not enough education. We don't hear enough about this. It was my doctor who finally let me know about Her Hope Behavioral Health. So we love to hear that doctors are now talking about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders because of the work we're doing here. So that's our focus. That's what we love to do. We love to make sure that we give moms a place to feel safe in talking about how they're feeling as moms, how their mood has changed, how life has changed for them, and give them the tools and steps to take to start feeling like themselves again.
Yeah, and that's great. So just for our listeners and if someone's struggling or suffering with perinatal depression or perinatal obsessive compulsive disorder, what does that look like? What are some signs or symptoms that they can be aware of that maybe they are it's something that they need to check into?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Tiffany. They all look a little bit different, but also have some symptoms that are the same. So it can be hard to tell what you're dealing with. One of the first things that I want to make sure that everybody knows that's listening is it's really important to talk about how you're feeling, and it's really important to make sure that you get some help, either with a therapist, with your OBGYN, your spouse, partner, whoever is nearby. Make sure that you talk about how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. The depression and anxiety can all look, like I said, very different, but also the same. The postpartum depression or perinatal depression, as it can happen during pregnancy as well, can look something like feeling sad or hopeless or feeling really, really empty or overwhelmed. You might feel like you're crying more often than usual outside of, typical pregnancy or mommy hormones. We just kind of tend to cry a little bit more around those times. But if you see that you are crying for no reason and just cannot stop, that's a sign that something is not quite right. If you feel like you're worrying more often than you typically do, or you're having some fears maybe that you didn't have before that are overwhelming and maybe crippling your ability to do what you need to do during the day, that's a sign something's wrong. If you feel anxious, angry, irritable, rage is one of those that we miss a lot. We don't talk about very often, unfortunately. That's a sign that there's probably some depression happening.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people just think that's pregnancy, but mood swings, and it's not to that extreme.
No, absolutely not. And a lot of the times, too, we hear things like, from well-meaning people, right? We hear things like, hey, you know what? You just really need to get 4 really good hours of sleep in a row, and you're going to feel brand new. It's going to be fine. And you know what? That doesn't fix it.
Right. In fact, some people are sleeping 12 to 24 hours sometimes,
right.
Oversleeping is a sign as well.
Absolutely. Oversleeping is absolutely a sign. A lot of the time that also baffles us as moms. We think, how does anybody have time to oversleep? I mean, I have a newborn. I get an hour and a half of sleep at a time. Oversleeping, what's that? But you know what? There are some moms who can't get up, who can't get out of bed. Or maybe if you really have the desire to breastfeed, maybe even that is too much. Maybe formula feeding is what you can manage, because the depression is keeping you from being able to do what you have to do to take care of baby, or the anxiety is crippling, or the OCD is crippling you from, living day-to-day life. That's the really big picture here. If whatever it is that you're feeling, the depression, anxiety, having obsessive thoughts, seeing flashes of things that for you are very, very disturbing in your mind, that you don't want to have that you don't want to see, intrusive thoughts. If it's getting in your way of being able to be the parent that you want, be the mom that you want, being able to function and get a few things done around the house here and there, then something's really, really wrong. We've come out of baby blues and we are right into, hey, I need some help.
Mm-hmm. So intrusive thoughts, I mean, I'm just thinking about this empathetically. Intrusive thoughts and thinking just on a regular, just for anxiety, to say, the dust and other things, that can drive us crazy. But imagine a very brand newborn that is depending on you to take care of it, and him or her. And these thoughts are going through your head. I've seen some clips on women that think their child's possessed, or think that there's a lot of religious intrusive thoughts, or satanic, or the world's going to end, or we have to save the child, and they do things terrible in order for them to save them. But I mean, that's the worst time to be feeling like that. It's very dangerous to not catch it.
It is. Tiffany, you're right. It is so dangerous. So, but if we're at that point, right? If we have a mom who is having these intrusive thoughts about, religious things or demonic possession, or if there's a high energy level during a time where it doesn't really necessarily make sense that there's a high energy level. With a brand new mom, we're looking at possible symptoms of what we call postpartum psychosis. And that's where we hear stories in the news of, a mom driving into the ocean, or, it sounds horrific for us, but these are women who are suffering, right? They're harming their children, thinking that this is not my child, or, this is a demon, or I have to save my baby. They are in full-blown hallucination at that point. There's no logic that is happening for them in those moments.
And to them, it's real.
To them, it's absolutely real, 100% real. There's no convincing them otherwise. And again, because there's such a huge stigma around not being the perfect mom, they're not going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times we
true.
have, yeah, right. It is. Yeah. We
imagine having to go in and say, I'm thinking about murdering my child.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then, so they're afraid to not look like a perfect mom, but are afraid to have their children removed, or afraid to, be Baker acted or impatient because of something that they're thinking.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's a real fear. I can say with almost 100% certainty, when I have moms in here, that's one of the first things that they say. I was so scared to come here, Lexi, because I know that what I'm feeling is not normal, and I'm so scared that someone's going to take my baby away if I really talk about how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that? That is terrifying. What a terrifying thought as a new mom, to think, oh my gosh, somebody's going to say to me that I'm not a good enough mom and I'm not safe for my baby, and they're going to take the baby away. They're going to lock me up.
That's pretty common for people suffering with obsessive compulsive thoughts or intrusive thoughts. The thoughts are so embarrassing at times, and they know it, they have to give into the compulsions.
Right.
I don't have to feel that they need to, and it's just a cycle. But without telling the truth, without asking for help, it's going to remain the same, if not get worse, because anxiety is a learned behavior. It just gets more and more. It's how far we allow it to happen. We allow our compulsions to take over our obsessions. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's it's even in pregnancy or postpartum, the OCD, the obsessions and the compulsions look so different than they might for someone who's experiencing OCD outside of that scenario. Mm-hmm. So the intrusive thoughts are, I might fall down the stairs with the baby. I can't go down the stairs. Mm-hmm. It might shift into, if I walk outside the door, we might get hit by a car. If I drive the car, we might get into this horrific accident. And so then we're looking at other things that start to develop, like agoraphobia, right? Mm-hmm. Where mom is scared to even leave the house with the baby, mm-hmm. or to leave a certain area of their home with the baby, because maybe there's stairs in the house and they don't want to go down the stairs with the baby. For fear of what might happen with these intrusive thoughts that they see. And so the compulsions become coping mechanisms, right? Coping skills for them to use to make sure that they keep themselves and baby safe. But what it does, it cripples them. It hinders their ability to go out and live life.
Yeah, it affects the quality of life and
Absolutely.
Puts a lot of restraints on what they can do, like to live a normal, happy life, whatever normal looks like. But
for them, right? Whatever normal looks like.
I don't know. I don't know the definition of normal. If anybody knows the definition of normal, let 866-826-1340. No, like that's just whatever. Anyway, but I had a client in my office last night, and they are young. They're young, in like their early 20s, and suffering with obsessive compulsive thoughts. And we were discussing it, and it just crossed my mind. Imagine, I'm like, just wait till you're a parent.
Yeah,
because all of those things are already starting. But when you have a baby, so those are things that people should be aware of if they are already suffering with obsessive compulsive disorder or anxiety. Mm-hmm. Don't you think? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of the times we say, hey, there's not really anything that you do to cause it, which is true. We don't know all of the risk factors, if there are any, but we do know that if you have a pre-existing history of depression or anxiety or OCD, bipolar disorder, any of that, it does increase your likelihood of experiencing that during pregnancy and postpartum, after birth. So, one of the things that we do here at Her Hope Behavioral Health is make sure that we are following our pregnant patients, especially, that we follow them closely with